Megan Hicks of I Run Far, and I'm here at the finish line of the 2015 Ultra-Trail Mount Fuji. I'm with men's third place finisher, Jeff Browning. Dude,
hi.
That was awesome.
I know, I had a good day. I'm stoked.
I mean, you've had some great closes in 100-mile races in the past. Like, how does this one compare? Because from the outside watching you, it looked incomparable. Like, nobody was running like you yesterday at the end.
I was really patient. I knew this course was, well, I knew that this course was really tough. The last 3 climbs were really tough. I knew that that middle section was very like kind of slightly uphill and runnable. So I wanted to save my legs for that section. So I went easy in the Tenchi Mountains in the first third or first half, and it was really muddy, and the conditions were really bad this year, just with all the the typhoon giving us really bad rain and weather for 18 hours before the race. So I just bided my time. I knew the tendency for these UTMB, UTMF, tendency for these guys to go out really hard at the beginning, and I didn't get caught up in that. A couple of times I almost did in some of the chase groups. But then as they took off on like a road section, I just kind of like just a little too fast. I wanted to save it for the second half. I knew that if I ran 30 seconds a mile faster then, that I wouldn't have that 30. I would lose it in a couple minutes a mile in the second half. So I just saved it, and then my plan was to pick it up in around 100K, a little on and off, and then with 50K to go, all out.
So when we saw you early on at around 11K, and then again around 30K, and you were outside the top 10 both times, somewhere like 15th-ish place. And like some of the guys that you were among kind of had like those deer in headlights look in their eyes, like, I'd like to be further up than I am, but you looked pretty chill. Like, I
don't even ask where I am in the first half.
Yeah, I
didn't even want to know. I didn't care. I just knew that after the Tenchi, I knew it would like kind of start to sort out. And I know the tendency for everyone to be, especially younger guys, to go too hard, too early, and you can't do that in a 100-miler.
Like, this is a good lesson for everybody, not just elites, because almost everybody has to work to resist the urge to go too fast in 100, and to like let people go, and to run within yourself and make decisions for yourself. Like, how literally do you let people go? Who you should finish in front of eventually,
well, at some point, I was running with a group of 3 other guys. Gary Robbins was in there, and that was in the section that they changed, where you're before the Tenchi, and it's like kind of lower traverse. It was really technical, but it was very, very runnable. Just kind of rolly. Those guys all kind of took off, and I was just like, it's like 20 miles in. I'm like, you're going way too fast this early.
This isn't just a 100-miler. This is like already 103 or 4 or whatever.
Yeah, it's a long race, and it's and the technical sections are really technical. And so the mountains are steep here, really steep and really rocky. And so it's a mix between that really hard, fast road running and then really technical trail. And I don't know. I think after this is my 22nd 100, I just don't worry about it. I'm getting old, and I just am patient and let everybody go and trust that I'm pacing myself well. And
wisdom comes with age.
Yeah, totally. Hopefully. Not always, but hopefully.
So talk a little bit about the conditions. It ended up being a couple inches of new rain that was, in the ground and on the ground, I guess, by the time you guys got out there. People were reporting lots of nastiness. What did you find?
The worst section was the Tenchi section. I mean, that section between aid took me 4 hours and 5 minutes. You just couldn't go down. You couldn't go down. Yeah, I ran out of water. I carried 75 ounces of water through that section, and I ran out like for an hour.
Wow.
I know that's where a lot of people dropped. A lot of runners dropped after that section.
Came out of the Tenchis
just worked.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Gary took a nap.
Yeah.
Because he was worked too, jet lag. I think that section's probably the worst because that west side, the east side of Fuji has like kind of gritty, almost like Pacific Northwest style, well at least Bend, Oregon style lava rock.
Okay.
So it's real gritty. So even when it's wet, it drains pretty well, and it's you have pretty good traction as long as you have good trail shoes on. But the Tenchi are kind of like clay, so it's like the downhills were just grease. I mean, you would step and you just go. I mean, I woke up this morning, my left shoulder's really sore, and I realized it was from like grabbing trees on the way by to slow yourself down. You're like, ugh! So there's a lot of that. I put on gloves to that section even though it was warm, because even the rain, because of that typhoon came out of the south, so the weather was warm. You know, even the rain was warm.
Yeah.
So it was warm all night. I mean, I was in short sleeves most of the night. Wore gloves just for like the downhill sections because you're grabbing things and you needed something on.
Yeah. The sort of around, I don't know exactly, somewhere around the 110K mark, you're a bit higher up on the mountain. You're going through miles and miles, well, you're alternating between roads and miles of like black cinder rocks.
The really loose stuff?
Yeah.
It was like trying to go on a beach. It was like power suck. That section, and then where's the aid station and after the Tenchi Mountains were the two sections where I was like a little mentally like, ugh. That was just, it's hard to, when you can't even run, it's like a grade like this where you should be able to run it, but it's such loose junk. You would sink this deep in that rocky stuff that it was tough.
I want to ask about the different styles to the course. There's this loads and loads of road running here, pavement running, and then loads and loads of super technical stuff. Sometimes that transition can be challenging, like to transition from running flat to going straight uphill, or a steep downhill to then be able to turn things over on the roads again. How did you physically, mentally manage those transitions?
Well, after rolling my ankle at UTMB and rehabbing the ankle, I did, in like a 2-week window before this race, before I started to taper, I did 4 speedwork sessions. Okay. So that way I would just be comfortable at a little faster pace. I didn't want to hammer at any point on the road. I just tried to run quick. Efficiently. Yeah, and efficient, and learn, and the one thing I think that's hard when you do really hard mountain races and with not a lot of speed work, because you're concentrating on hills so much, that you forget that when you're on the road you need to pick up your heels instead of shuffling. So I think speed work helps remind your body pick up your heels and the rest will take care of itself. Like the smoothest gait. Yeah. Reminds you of the smoothest gait. So at 110K you were 71 minutes back from Arnaud Lejeune and 84 minutes back from the lead. And at the finish line you were a little over 5 minutes back from Arnaud. Yeah, I heard he was walking the last couple K. I didn't know I was that. Sure, he walked the entire last bit. Well, I didn't know I was that close. After I got into third, once I caught Sondre, I wanted to make sure he didn't follow me. So I caught him on a hill, and I ran the hill around the corner and kept hammering and looking back to make sure he wasn't following. He looked like his legs were pretty hammered, so I figured he wouldn't. But then when I got into the last aid station, I was just, at that point, I'm like, I wonder how far second. And I asked, and they were like, oh, he left here 27 minutes ago. And I'm like, it's 7.2 miles or something to the finish in one big climb. And I was like, well, there's no way I'm going to catch him. Yeah. And so if I would have, I wish I would have known. At that point, were you thinking about someone behind you and trying to keep? Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about. Yeah, I was just trying to think about him not catching. Watching to see if Fuji pops out. Yeah, Fuji's back there. There's Mount Fuji. In the gray. FYI. We haven't seen it the entire time. Is there a mountain here? They say there is. So yeah, last aid station, 10K to go. You're told that you're 23 or 27 minutes back from the lead. So you're kind of thinking that's just too far off. Well, I mean, 7.2 miles. You just say, okay, well, he's got second, locked down, Unless he was walking, which turns out Could I have found another 5 or 6 minutes? I don't know. I was pretty. I mean, that's why I waited for the last 50K, because when you push hard at the end of that race like that, like 50K is a long way to go hard. I was definitely feeling it the last 3 or 4 miles. Like I don't know if I can keep pushing.
Yeah.
So
the last question that I want to ask you is, pushing the way you did yesterday at the end of a 100-miler. I mean, many people are usually under the duress of like fatigued legs, like, muscles that just won't work right anymore, their stomachs aren't processing, or some other physical malady. Like, how did you, as you're pushing and you're passing these guys and you're moving up in the field, how did you keep focus on like the nutrition and the various things that you need to do to take care of yourself mechanically?
Nutrition-wise, I do the same exact thing every time. I don't eat any aid station food, except maybe orange wedges here and there.
Okay.
I make my own food. I have my own solid in my pocket. I carry a little more weight because of that, and then I do my own gel mixes. So it's a combination of maltodextrin and goo.
You've just found that that's what works with you?
Yeah, that works for me. It's kind of like fine-tuned over 2200s.
Yeah.
But I do the same exact thing on an hourly regimen the whole race.
Okay.
I don't steer off that course at all. My stomach stays totally straight. My energy level stays pretty consistent. And every once in a while I need to take a little extra gel or that, and an extra salt or something if I'm a little crampy or something. But I just kind of stick to that regimen and it works for me. Leg-wise, I kind of feel like if you're fit and a lot of experience, I think a lot of 100-milers help. Just like knowing that you can push to a certain window, and be okay. I've experimented and I've blown up a few times. So I kind of know what my body can do, so I just kind of trusted that. And the other thing is that in that last 50K is just mental.
Yeah.
At that point, you're tired and you don't want to push, but anytime I would want to go, I'd be like, execute. That was my mantra, execute. The last 50K. I waited till 50K though to go, and then it was like mentally on.
Well, execute you did. I told a couple people yesterday yours was the most pleasurable race to watch in terms of that execution, because it was just, you had your eye on the prize from start to finish. So
yeah, it was. I'm very happy, especially after rolling my ankle and disappointing UTMB. To come here and get on the podium, I'm pretty stoked on that. Yeah.
This is the last thing to cap off your experiences if the mountain pops out sometime.
Yeah, I just need it just one time before I head back to Yokohama.
Just once. Well, congratulations to you on your third place finish.
Yeah.